Hello everybody, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today I have a little unpackaging that I'd like to share with you all. The unpackaging knife is going to be the Loki 2 by my good friend Stephen Dunnick. Harnds, however you pronounce this. There are some stats that you can pause to read if you care to do so. This comes in a little belt carry thing. Here is the knife right here. This model, I believe, is called the Vanguard, and looking at the dimensions of this thing, I think that's the main reason why I decided to pick this up, is because I've handled a lot of really small knives. I don't have too many things that are on the larger side, and this was near 4 inches, I think, if I remember correctly. I wonder if it's even on the box. The blade length, it says 3.82, but this has a thumb disc. I haven't had a knife with a thumb disc in a long time for deployment. Oh wow, that's like stupid smooth. This has washers in the pivot. Holy hell. That is like super easy. The detent, I feel like it's on the lighter side. It feels well tuned, but on the lighter side. It's probably something that I could tinker around with. Old school style detent ball with a hardened steel detent there. Yeah, this is actually pretty darn nice. This was just about 50 bucks, just a little bit under. I think it was like 46 or 47 or something like that. What I'm feeling here, what I'm seeing so far, that honestly doesn't sound too bad. Realistically, it is a drop point blade, but it's pretty darn close to being just a straight back. There is some nice little jimping here on the spine, and you can rest there on a disc. One thing that's nice is that you can pop out that disc, probably with a T6 right there. If you have a clamping system to put this in there and sharpen it. Let's see, does it have like an internal stop? No, it has a dual function stop pin, just the one pin right there for the open as well as the closed position. So that means that I'd be able to cut in a sharpening notch if I feel like it's necessary after sharpening this thing. I would want to lay it back a little bit because the stock thickness on this is honestly pretty robust, and seeing how the blade is only about 1 inch and some change of height, and it's not completely all the way flat because there is, you know, the flat here and then the main this bevel here. There's not much to it, so I'd want to put a pretty laid back edge on this. I'm thinking something like 16, maybe 17 degrees. I don't want it to look too stupid, but I want this thing to perform, right? It's a knife, it's supposed to perform. And with this much thickness and material behind the edge, it does feel honestly pretty robust behind the edge. It should still hold up, you know, good to, you know, general tasks and things like that because it has that extra stability. Let me see. I'm feeling for any like play and detent. Nothing. It's solid. Side to side. No, it's very impressive for a sub $50 knife. Even nowadays, it's running on washers. That's really impressive. Honestly, Benchmade has more play than this thing. This truly has nothing side to side. Up or down? Nothing. Freaking nothing. Wow, this thing is this smooth out the box. I can't imagine what this is gonna feel in after I do my typical disassembly and hand polish the surface of the washers. Not that it really needs it. Like, this knife out the box feels like one of my other knives that cost like 3-4 times as much as this, after I've done my polishing of some skiff thick washers or something like that. Now, are these like thick washers? No, they look kind of standard. I'm curious to take this apart. All right, so let's check this guy out. As I mentioned, we'll take the weight. It's probably like, I don't know, 4.5. I want to say maybe a little bit more. I don't think anything past 5. 4.8. What was that? Yeah, 4.8. Not bad, not bad. Yeah, this doesn't feel like ridiculously heavy, but it does feel quite dense. Let's do a handful of common size comparison size knives. So we have here, this is Glide Strike by Sencut. Holy crap. It is actually almost as long as the Glide Strike. That's crazy. The Glide Strike is just a smidge, but they're essentially the same. The amount of usable blade length, you actually get more with the Vanguard here. That's wild. Spenza 31. Probably going to be exactly the same tip to tail. You know what? I think the Vanguard is actually, it's got it beat just by a little bit. Lost some edge there with Spenza. And it's going to be bigger than everything else that I'll show off. So, Civivi Vision FG. Manix 2 Lightweight by Spyderco. Yeah, this is a significantly sized knife right here. What else? Let's do this guy right here. Recon 1. Yeah, this is definitely much larger, but it's all on the handle. The amount of usable blade length is almost exactly the same with a full-size Recon 1 in the spear point blade configuration. So that's I'm gonna call that good for size comparison. There's not really much else that is really gonna stack up to this thing. Let's check out the factory edge. Well, real quick, I guess we can do what I carried today. So this is what I had in the pocket. This little guy right here, the Loki 2. So this feels quite significant in hand. Let's take a little rip out of this catalog right here. Check out this factory edge. Satin on the blade, I could care less. It's in D2. They do have a stone wash, but it's just here in the flats. I kind of wish the whole thing was just that stone wash, but that's really just my preference. I know a lot of people like satin. I personally don't, because I actually use my knives. Hey, that's really good. Wow. That is very nice. That is quite refined feeling. Stays in the cut. I don't feel like I'm gonna slip out or nothing. Wow, that is very impressive. Now this is thin, like, you know, catalog paper here, but that is very nice. I get a little bit of fuzzy as we get into this curve right here, but that's just the cut. So that is honestly quite impressive. You guys have seen it here first on the channel, where I've unboxed knives that are hundreds of dollars, and some of them don't even feel quite like this, which is kind of embarrassing. But I think if this is as good as this is from the factory, and it's D2, that is of, safely to say that it's industry standard, at least fingers crossed with that one. I'm pretty confident to be able to put an even more impressive edge on this thing. Probably sticking around that 400 grit because I love toothy edges. But yeah, that is really, really nice right there. Let's go ahead and tear this thing down. I gotta get my tools real quick. Alrighty, got all my stuff here. So, skiff, KPL, drivers, bits side. Okay, nice chunk of G10 looking at this thing. Looks pretty clean, not too bad. The edges are decently finished, decently. At least the pivot is pretty clean. Over here, there's a little bit of, not crusty stuff, but could have used a little bit of refinement. Can't really expect much at this price point. I like that there is a actual milled out space to flip the pocket clip, which is nice. Does this have a D shape, or at least a captured side? I think it does. Let's go ahead and try to pry this side up, but there goes the blade. Let's pull that out. Yeah, so here we go. The whole thing's just kind of falling apart at this point. But all right, so that is nice. Yeah, so it is a fully D-shaped pivot. It's captured on the steel liner. Nice, nice. I like that. These steel liners, they are thick. These things are very beefy. They're honestly, they've done as much as they could for weight relieving, realistically. Nested liners would have been really nice, but that's kind of a premium. That's been proven wrong a couple times, but it's honestly very rare to see nested liners on sub $50 knives. Let's see if we could actually take apart this clip side now. I'm holding on to the buddy screw. No, I got some pliers right here. Big ass freaking pliers just to take off one stupid little screw. There we go, Jesus. All right, so the whole thing is completely apart. Now we can do further examination on it. So there's a clip. All right, looks good. Nice and simple design, captured, so there won't be any wiggle side to side. I like it. Should be good retention in the pocket clip. In the pocket clip? In the pocket. Here is the other side. See how they've cleaned that up. This scale actually looks somehow cleaner than the other side, at least in finishing work. Yeah, nice, nice. Let's take a look at this liner side over here with the actual spring tension that it has. I do want to tune that up. I am actually gonna force it over a little bit because I want this thing to be a tad bit stronger, because I noticed that on assist closing it by like using my index finger to push the blade back down, the D10 is actually so light on this that it actually bounced out of the handle for a second. I noticed that a couple times, so I'll tweak this, I'll move it in, I'll do it off camera, throw this thing back together once I show you all the internals. But these scales, they are wonderfully finished. Yeah, this is nice. This is actually really, really nice. There is nothing that I can honestly negatively comment against. All the edges are highly rounded off and polished, as well as in these pockets, very well finished. As that was being cut out, there's no leftover like snaggy material. Again, we got the hardened steel detent ball right there. There's a lock face, looks very healthy. Let's move on. Here's a little backspacer, G10, gear shaped. I don't believe it was proud out of the handle, but it's there. I thought it counts, I guess. Here is the blade, and it looks very, very well finished. You can see that it's actually not countersunk, but chamfered there on that side, as well as this over here. I think that's cool. Probably went a little overboard. That chamfer is pretty significant. Just a little cleanup on the edge is all that's really needed, but you know what, the more the merrier, why not? Yeah, so just as I thought, these are the washers. They're flat washers. This isn't something that is compatible with skiffs, so there's no point in doing that kind of stuff. Just typical little flat washers. I'm gonna go ahead and tune this up a little bit, slap it together, and I'll be right back. All right, we are all back together and finished. Was able to snug this thing up just a little bit. The action is gonna suffer from tightening the detent, but I got it to where it is a little bit stronger, a little bit snappier. I like it quite a bit. And again, this thing still has a long way to go before it breaks in all the way. The washers were very easy to polish up. I have some like polishing paste, and then I just throw it on the cloth, rub it in, and then that's it. But yeah, I think I'm gonna have a good time with this. As I mentioned before, the way that they left some room over here, I can go ahead and put in a sharpening trowel there quite easily. But, I will leave this link down below. So far, what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling, this is looking like to be a really, really good knife for the price, definitely. Understanding that there is some some increase that has happened since this thing has been released. As I mentioned before, I was watching videos on this thing and the videos were dated 5 years back, and the people in the videos claimed that this thing was under $40, so it's gone up a little bit. Now it's still just under 50 bucks, so really realistically not that much. Can this thing hold up to other things within that price range nowadays? Yes, absolutely. I think this is going to be a good one. This is going to be an absolute treat to use. And that is pretty much it. If you like this video, go ahead and leave a like down below. If you are subscribed already, thank you so much. I appreciate all your support and your patience, of course. If you are not subscribed, please consider subscribing, because I put more videos and content coming your guys' way. With that being said, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.